12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. And that music means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard for this Wednesday. I'm John Harper. Jim Votrell is here. Artica the Wonder Dog is here as well. But right now, let's introduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here is none other than Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper. Thank you. And, I'm smiling when you were introducing Artica the Wonder Dog because when we finish a show here at the studios WEJF, we always get asked Jim if he'll take a photo of all of us together, and Artica has really become the star of each of the photos. I notice what is it you call it? The likes on Facebook go up whenever Artica is the star, so it's all good.
It's interesting. I'll go to places and if I have an appointment somewhere, oh hi, Mr. Harper, how are you? And where's Artica?
Yeah. That's how it is, but it's a good thing, and it's always fun to be here on the radio Wednesdays lunchtime. We gather around and we talk helping seniors on our lunch hour here, and the thing that's always important to do is to get information into the hands of people that will make a difference. Our president and founder Joe Steckler for years talked about everybody needs to make an aging plan, and I remember when I met Joe, John knew him and was helping Joe when he was building up the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. I met Joe when he was launching Helping Seniors after successfully getting the Joe's Clubs built and all of that. But Joe was like, everybody has to have an aging plan. And I remember trying to wrap my mind around it. And I said, well, is it like a hurricane plan? You don't want a storm. You just want to be ready. And he said, that's pretty much where it's at. And so for 15 years, answering the Helping Seniors info line, I'm going to give you that number. So if you're close to getting a pencil, you might want to grab it and jot that number down. It's a free call. And last year we helped over 4,400 and like almost 4,500 people calls from seniors and their families. And what we do is senior navigation and try to get them pointed in a direction that's going to make a difference for whatever particular situation that they're worried about. And sometimes it's everything from transportation to legal to medical to financial, you name it, we get the calls about it. Oftentimes we get calls about how do I feed Fido? I mean, we get all kinds of calls and we're willing to dive in and see if we can make a difference. And I'm really impressed with how often our little engine that could is able to get somebody pointed in a good direction. And so kudos to Nancy Deerdorf and the entire group of volunteers that run that helpline. I'm going to give you that number now. So if you can get a moment to jot this down, it's a great resource for you to have. Maybe stick it on your refrigerator and just keep it handy because sooner or later you may run into something that needs a little help. That phone number is area code 321-473-7770. I'll say it again. 321-473-7770. And so out of taking all those calls and plus trying to follow up on what Joe advised us all to do, create our aging plan, we jokingly call it getting your ducks in a row, so it sounds a little less serious, but it's basically the premise is helping you get your aging plan in order. And we get so many calls about so many things. And I have to explain this as kind of a preamble to the show that we're going to have, and we're going to talk about affordable senior housing. And I have to start with kind of the dark side of it because one of the ladies that we work with for many years, her name is Tracy Graff. She has a company called Avid Home Care Services, and she's a very big proponent on what we can do to make affordable housing for seniors. And one day, out of a fit of frustration, we were on the phone together. She goes, Kerry, I don't ever want to hear the words out of your mouth again, affordable housing for seniors. She goes, it doesn't exist. It just flat doesn't exist. And I thought, well, sad, but you really do have a point, Tracy. It's a tough thing. And I got to tell you, when Joe first organized this and we were looking at the results of the calls that we would take at the end of each year and kind of regroup on that, it was medical, it was legal, it was financial, it was transportation. Yes, it was housing, but it was like, fourth or fifth in the pack. It was always a question. Somebody's moving, something's transitioning. But it does seem like after COVID, housing shot up to number one on that list. And the saddest part about it is there just aren't good solutions. And we see it every single day. Nancy takes the calls and the seniors are calling in. They said, I've lived here. I've rented a room here for years and I was paying, I'm just going to say $600 a month. and now the person, because house values went up and all that, they're retiring, they're selling the house, and now the new owner says I could stay, but it's going to be $1,200. Well, I only get $1,000 on my Social Security. So we run into these problems all of the time. Then we run into people who really kind of they were managing it. Maybe it was a couple. They were, each one got their Social Security, had a little bit to work with, and then one of them either becomes totally, they have to go to the hospital, or they're just no longer on the earth, and now two Social Security incomes become one Social Security income. And now we have a problem because everything becomes serious. We have had calls from folks who have paid off their mortgage, but are now in danger of losing their home because they can't manage the taxes, the insurance, and the homeowners association fees. And so we've really discovered along the way that if there was an easy solution, we would have found it, right? So the reason that we can't come up with a simple solution is there just really doesn't exist. One of the things that we talk about, Nancy and I have talked about this a lot in the broadcast in general, is that we as a group of people who live here on the Space Coast should think of a way that we can do things better for our seniors, right? Because if you think about it, there's always a lot of concern for helping kids and doing the right thing for kids and making sure they get a fair start in life and help them on the journey, because many of them do come up through difficult home situations, and they have a lot of things maybe stacked against them, and there's a lot of charities that do a lot of good for kids, and we need every single one of those. What I usually talk about when I advocate for helping seniors, I say, but here's what their challenge is. In our county, 1 in 4 people is over 65, and 1 in 2 is over the age of 50, which is when our ARP designates you're a senior, whether you're insulted or not. And so what ends up happening is we say, if you live in Brevard County, you're a senior, you love and care for your senior, God willing, you live another few years and you're going to be a senior. So everything, hopefully, we're going to talk about today will have some relevance for you. And so that's why I'm excited to introduce friends that have been ministry friends of my wife and I for years and years, on totally different side of the table from what we do with helping seniors. But everything, all things kind of intersect at a certain point. And so you may have heard these names before. Dwight and Angela Bell with Wings of Grace Ministries. Welcome. How are you guys doing today?
Well, Kerry, we're doing great and really appreciate the opportunity to come and share our passion with you.
Yeah, we're really going to dive into the conversation about housing because there is some unique thinking on the table. So even though I kind of started it with sort of here's what the problem is, they always used to say, don't bring me a problem unless you bring me a solution, right? So we are going to start talking about solutions here. And there's a really bright spot on the horizon here we want to get to. But I want to make sure people are introduced to you and all the work. They may have seen Wings of Grace Thrift Store, but they may not be familiar with all the work that you do that is so positive. We're talking about the value of helping kids. Let's talk just for a minute about what you do with Wings of Grace.
Well, thank you again, Kerry. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I made some terrible mistakes. Fortunately, never got caught for what I was doing.
Yeah, we didn't have the internet back then, right?
Right. And but I finally did get caught. I got caught by Jesus, had a radical experience with him, and entered the kingdom of God. And I believe at that time, he laid on my heart a ministry for teens to minister to them, really, that every decision they make has a consequence. Some of them are immediate, some are long-term, and some are eternal. And really put on my heart to teach that. And so these teens wouldn't have to go through what I went through.
Right.
And so how do you reach teenagers nowadays and instill in them any kind of wisdom? Well, we found a hook, and that's aviation. And when you think about making good decisions in life, if you're a pilot, you really have to make good decisions in life if you're going to fly that aircraft again, right?
And live. Yeah.
So we use aviation as the hook, and young teens, 13, 14, 15, can come into our program, and by doing community service projects, they can earn a private pilot's license. And while we're teaching all of the ground school, all of the principles of flight and all that, we really show that all of these things that keep us safe are really biblical principles. Mm-hmm. So it's a way we can reach these kids with the gospel, and in a non-confrontational way, but they actually see right? From the microcosm of aviation, that how these biblical principles really affect their life in every area of life. So that's basically how this thing started back in 2010. It was just an idea. I don't think we really knew what we were doing. We stuck some yard signs out around Indianapolis, some teenagers, free flight lessons, and my cell number, and ended up with 19 students.
Wow.
And over the years, it's grown. I think we've got, we have 8 chapters now.
Oh my goodness.
Throughout the Southeast and one in the Bahamas. So we're actually international with that program.
You know, it's really fascinating because I know, like, a lot of times when we show up as helping seniors at a community event, I was thinking, last year we were out at something called Brevard Recovery Fest, which is a great thing that happens I think it's October, but a number of different places. You guys will be out. You'll have simulators. You'll be encouraging kids to come up and try their hand at flying. And it's just a great program that seems to make a difference for kids, giving them some real hope. And you've been doing it. We were talking about this when we were visiting over at your offices, that really you have been doing this in a way that now you've seen kind of the fruit of it, because when you started, now these people have grown up and they have careers in aviation.
Oh yes, we have some that are airline pilots, some are flight instructors that are back now with us training the younger students.
Wow!
So that's a real thrill. And we'll get into our real estate arm here in a little bit, but we've had several students that didn't go all the way with aviation, but they got into real estate because of what we do with that. So the aviation is just a hook. What it really is pouring your life into another one and letting them know that they're unconditionally loved, that they have value, that they have purpose, they have an incredible future ahead of them, and you're there to walk alongside with them and really get them through their teen years without doing the stupid stuff.
Yeah. But what you're saying, I think, is also, at least in my view, is so applicable to seniors. People sometimes view seniordom as like an end of the road thing. I don't think it is. Actually, that's just my own personal belief. But I think the point that is so important is, like, the same care that we want to give to younger folks is the same that we should do. My Bible says, orphans and widows. And so often we forget the seniors. And so to kind of like bookend what we started talking about is, the thing that is in our county, I mentioned 1 in 4 of us is over 65 and 1 in 2 is over 50. But the real point that usually elicits a kind of like, I didn't know that, was that here in Brevard County, we love our kids. We voted that we wanted to give an extra half-cent sales tax. So every time we go to the grocery store or buy anything out there, buy a car, we're willing to give up another half-cent because we want kids to have the best possible school system that they can. And we're always thinking of things we could do for our kids. But here's the kicker. We have less kids in our county under 18 than we do seniors over the age of 65. So our only point of advocacy is, couldn't we give seniors the same honor and respect and efforts that we try to give the kids? What would be wrong with that? And so to really kind of dive into the heart of the conversation we want to have today, the most frustrating calls are those that we get from folks that are seniors who are now facing homelessness. And to me, I can't imagine being homeless at age 20 or 30 when you still have some strength and some fight in you. But I can't imagine being homeless at 80 and having to live in a car. And yet that is more reality than it should ever have to be here in Brevard County. And so the conversation always ends up being, how do we do something for seniors? Because so often the seniors are stranded by the amount of fixed income. And usually our effort to somebody who's younger, who may have some financial problems, is like, let's get you on a solid career path. You can increase your earnings, and that's going to help you mitigate maybe some of the things that were there before. Well, the problem for a senior is often it's not realistic to say, let's go out and increase our income, because there's other medical issues or things that may be in the way. So working may or may not really be as feasible as was. We do a lot of work, Dwight, with wonderful lady, Lois Thomas, who's over at Career Source Brevard Flagler Volusia. She is connected with the ARP Back to Work 50+ program. So many times if a senior is able, we say, like, listen, you have skills, you have knowledge, you're valuable in the workforce, and there are people who want to hire you. And that could be one way that we can solve so that you can make housing more affordable. But for many, they're just stuck. And so Nancy has had to resort to a lot of different tools. Some work, some don't. You did sometimes the same thing you used to do when you were in school and you didn't have enough money. You had to have roommates, and you could split the cost and maybe make it work. There are a number of people who are dedicated to try to informally get roommates together and things like that. There are certain programs, the first thing Nancy does when she gets a call, she says, let me give you some resources, and you need to call these places because every single one of them has a waiting list. But the sooner you get on the list, and sometimes they'll tell you it's 4 or 5 years, but then somehow miraculously something will open up, 3 months down the road. You can always tell them, no, I'm okay. I found something else, but at least get on the waiting list so you know that you're there. So when you gave us a call and you were talking about, you have quite a background in affordable housing, and I want to let you talk a little bit about, you've already been very involved in the ministerial community, helping get affordable housing through a lot of churches and things like that. So us having these conversations, take the next step and figure out what we can do for seniors is just going to be an offshoot of that. But talk about that, because you have experience with multi room dwellings and multi-family dwellings and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, well, that started actually when I was a teenager. My dad was a real estate attorney, and I grew up in the title insurance business, so it's been second nature to me. And back in the late 90s, I jumped into investing my own account and did very well during that run-up between 2000 and 2008, and which really gave us the resources to start our ministry. And how the housing came about with Wings of Grace is when you think of aviation, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And giving free flight lessons to teenagers, you could see that you go broke doing that real soon.
No doubt.
So we had an idea of creating an income stream using real estate. And as you recall, 2010, the real estate market here was dead.
Yeah.
And so we bought some foreclosed homes, 3 of them right off the bat. And the idea is that we would get the teenagers to work on them to earn flight time. So because they have to do community service hours to get flight lessons. And so they could work on these houses. And at the same time, we're teaching a work skill, a work ethic. We taught a bunch of them to paint and landscape and clean and all of that. And just how you go about doing real estate deals.
Right.
And so it was really designed to create an income stream to pay for the airplane. They'll work them, they'll fix them up, then we'll rent them out. That creates income stream. And being in ministry circles, when people find out that ministries own real estate, well, you immediately start getting calls for affordable housing.
Right.
And we knew about the homeless situation. I mean, it's impossible not to know it just driving around here.
Right.
But we did not realize the severity of it. We started getting calls, just like your number. We get calls practically every day of people needing housing, and really hearing some heart-wrenching stories. I mean, women living in cars with children and all kinds of things like that. So we made the decision of a few years in, hey, we're going to go 100% affordable housing. So really the idea is that we will rent to people that have trouble getting housing in the open market. A lot of it due to criminal backgrounds, bad credit, things like that, making bad decisions, right? Like we want to change with our teenagers. But the idea is, okay, we'll rent you a home and use this as a stepping stone to home ownership. And, it's actually pretty easy to buy a home if you get into, if you really start making good decisions towards that. I mean, we're in America. If you can't do it here, where can you? I mean,
right.
this
Absolutely.
is the place. But you got to change the way you think, especially about money. And so, of course, being a Christian organization, wanting to bring the gospel in, we say, let us tell you about this radical way of living life that brings peace and joy and abundance, not the way the world thinks of it, but everything you need. And if you would embrace this, you would find in a few years that you could actually go in to buy your own home. So that's the goal, is just not to house someone with low rent, but to use it as a stepping stone where they build prosperity.
Right.
And it's a tough ministry. What we found is the majority of our residents didn't really want to take the steps needed to buy their own home. And but we had some success. I think at the time when we started moving into what we're doing now, we'd had 7 going to buy their own home, which
Wow.
we've heard before. Hey, that's great. But for me, is we'd had at that time now 30 properties, and we only had 7 going to buy their own home. So I'm thinking, how can we increase our numbers? And just in our success rate, and just in our prayer time and all of that, I kept hearing James 1:27, widows and orphans.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what in the world does this mean, having to do with housing? Well, a week or so later, I found out. I got a call from, basically how you ask of the Lord a question, the answer will come, right?
Yes.
And so I got a call from a lady with one of our partners ministries, Ways for Life, and she was sharing the horrors of these teens aging out of foster care.
It's terrible what happens with them. Huh.
It is, yeah, just heart-wrenching stories. And if you look at the statistics, 25% end up homeless within a year, an increased incarceration and drug addiction and crime and that. And so we thought, okay, let's work with them, create a program where we'll provide housing, but which is really the first step of everything necessary to get them to live a prosperous life, abundant life, right? To make good decisions and things like that. And that was one part of it, the orphans, right? But the other part of James 1:27 is the widows. And so the idea is, okay, hey, the bookends, right? So we've got the orphans and the widows. So,
right.
So we decided, hey, we're going to jump into this thing, and we started building. And last year, late last year, we completed our first project, Capernaum Place, 24 brand new apartments, beautiful apartments, right near US 1 in Sarno. And we really want to dedicate this will be for youth aging out of foster care and the elderly in our community.
Yeah, it's a beautiful property. On the second half of the show, we're going to really talk about it. You guys were kind to host a visit from Nancy Deerdorf, who's our operations director, and myself, to see this place, and it is perfect for seniors. We're going to really talk a little bit about how this could be maybe your next home, and talk a little bit about where this concept is going, because the idea is we need more housing that we can afford here in Brevard County. Before we get to the break, Dwight Bell, I want to make sure with Wings of Grace, people know what's the best way to learn more about you. Would you say go to the website? Would you say go to your Facebook page? I just want to make sure people can be researching a little bit.
Yes, both the website and Facebook page. It's Facebook. The website is wingsofgraceministries.org.
Okay.
And Facebook, same thing, Wings of Grace Ministries.
Okay. Stay with us.
12:34 right now in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. Jim Votro is here. Artica the Wonder Dog is here as well. And right now, let's reintroduce the host of our show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Thank you, John Harper. We're having a great discussion with our friends Dwight and Angelia Bell, who are with Wings of Grace Ministries. And even though the ministry itself is kind of geared towards flying and things like that, we're doing a lot of good work right here on the ground, because we began the show talking about affordable senior housing, and that's really where we're going to spend our time on the second half of this show. So I want to welcome you back if you're just now joining us on 90.3 FM, WEJF. A lot of people tune in online at WEJF.net. And the very reason that we put this out on the podcast is maybe you joined the show midway and you want to catch up on it, or maybe you have a friend and you want to share this with them. You can find us every place from Apple iTunes to iHeartRadio to Spotify to Amazon Music. Wherever you find good pods, wherever you find podcasts, you can find Helping Seniors Radio. And one of the reasons is that I think we also, by the way, we put these out on our website. I'm going to give you our website, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, all social media, because part of this is getting information in the hands of seniors and their families is going to make a difference. So Helping Seniors of Brevard.org, Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. It's a great resource because we make sure that everything we do is available there so that you can access it and share it and make use of it really kind of on demand as you find it's useful. And so today's conversation with Dwight and Angelia is really important because what they have done is nothing short of amazing to put together a whole start of a community called Capernaum Place. You guys have got phase 1 going, and even when we were over there, we were seeing that phase 2 is now in construction. And these are the most, I can speak to what we saw with phase 1, beautiful, perfect for one adult or two adults, 1-bedroom apartments that have every kind of thing that you would want to see in there. And so, what a great location. And also right across, you've built a mission field kind of a community center directly across the street. There's lots of things happening. Talk a little bit about this.
Yes, well, first of all, the reason that we have an affordable housing shortage is because to build these things or to acquire them is not affordable.
Right.
They're extremely expensive to build or to acquire. Just something new, just all of the building code and everything that you have to adhere to, the fire suppression systems and just all the permitting and all the fees and everything is just incredibly expensive to build them. But we figured let's get this thing built and then start serving out of it, and then see where it will go if we can scale it, which I believe we can. We really want to. Our heart is to solve the problem.
Yes,
and not just keep kicking things down the can down the road, but actually provide housing. And so that's where we have started with this. And then the housing, of course, is not the end all, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay. How are you living life in the new housing? And so that's really where our ministry comes in to provide services and things like that, where it's an enjoyable place to live and you thrive. Right, I'm going to be 70 here in October, so I'm actually one of the seniors, and I'm looking forward to every future day. Right,
right,
should be one of excitement and really to thrive, and that's what we want to have happen at Capernaum Place. That our residents would live a life of abundance and purpose and meaning, and really a community to come around to help them achieve that, to walk it.
As we walk through it, you have because we were talking about the whole beautiful construction and how it's all put together. It's absolutely perfect. You said you actually have up to 10 units that you could that are available for seniors right now. And we were talking about that it really is a great location because you've built it to make it very cost effective as it can be. I was smiling when you were telling the story of all what it costs to build something these days. And I remember Joe Steckler, our founder, he was very, very much a proponent of whatever we could do about affordable housing. And he'd gone to some sort of a meeting. I want to say this was at one of the town halls or something. And he'd gone with a developer who really wanted to get affordable housing going. And the city council that they were in front of was trying to put, like they do now, all these impact fees and things. And so Joe was like, you're trying to make affordable housing. This is not where you can make your government money. You need to cut that out, let the guy build the thing so it can do what it's trying to do, which is be affordable housing. I don't mean to jump off on that soapbox, but I thought, there is so much work that needs to be done to really make affordable housing happen. So you're very bold to step out to do that, to make that possible. And when I see what you were able to put together, when we walked into, I think you had a unit that was available for us to take a look at as a display unit, and you could see how it is perfect for a couple of people because it's spacious. You have your own unique living area. You have your own bedroom. Even the way that you design the bathroom area is very, very senior friendly, and the kitchen as well. Talk a little bit about the thought that you put into that part of it.
Yeah, as a real estate developer, you always want to be thinking, well, if my model that I'm building this for, if it doesn't work out, what's the next best thing? What would I use it for then? And so we went in this with a design. Okay, how can we make this really flexible? So when you're really thinking of senior housing is the ADA, right? Americans with Disability Act, and
Right.
having to do with wheelchair access and things like that. So we designed all of these so that they could easily be retrofitted to accommodate ADA. So all of the bathrooms, the doors, and all that with wheelchairs accessible and all of that. So it was that kind of thinking going in on it, and then we didn't want it to look like affordable housing.
No, it's beautiful.
And
Yeah.
so that's where working with other real estate developers and things like that, just being in that realm has helped. So we would, stainless steel appliances are beautiful. Of course, they're expensive. So what we were able to do is tag on with another developer that was buying a huge amount of stainless steel appliances. And so we just tagged on to their package. And so we were able to get very, very nice appliances cheaper than what it would cost us to go over to one of these big box stores. And same thing, granite countertops, right? Normally you think of those as being expensive. We were able to get those at a cost not much greater than if you just put a Formica countertop in.
Wow.
Of course, that'll save us maintenance costs down the road, right?
Right.
And cathedral ceilings, just by engineering the trusses a little bit differently, we've got cathedral ceilings which gives it a luxury.
Yeah, it feels very big, very open, very inviting,
Yeah. So it's just those kind of things, just value engineering, thinking about it in advance. How can we make this thing really look good, but then keep the cost as low as possible? Because, it is an expensive, affordable housing project at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Well, we talked about it because the way you've put this together, it's I think the units are 1 bedrooms, and at is it $1,450? Am I saying that right?
Yes. Yeah. So the current rent is $1,450 for a 1-bedroom apartment.
And what you get is really the only thing you have to add to that would be your power bill, and that's pretty small considering that these were built energy efficient and that the space itself is very compact. So I think we said probably if you said $1,500, you've kind of got what you need covered, and you have like laundry facility there on site, so you can get there. You don't have to have a washer dryer right there. You have a great locked, secured facility that you can go in and do your washing and things like that. And the other part is all of it's furnished if you want. I remember Nancy asked you the question, well, what if they want to bring their own stuff? You said, of course, but if they need to get, it's already there.
Yeah, what we figured after having a thrift store for a while and seeing the kinds of things donated to a thrift store, and then having a lot of our supporters say, hey, we would like to donate furniture for this, I realized I don't want thrift store stuff in this beautiful place.
Right.
And so we made the decision, we made a deal with a local furniture company to give us a beautiful furniture at cost. So we're able to furnish the thing with brand new furniture. When you think of the youth that we're putting in there, the kids aging out of foster care, is really, I want them to know what an incredible future they have, and that we want to invest in them. And basically, hey, your life of hand-me-downs is over, right? Hand-me-down.
That is what a great philosophy. And I was thinking, even for seniors, instead of giving them what's left over, you're giving them what's actually the best. And to that point, this is what I want to say about that, is that you really created an environment that's going to be clean, comfortable, affordable, and effective. And so when Nancy and I were talking about this, so you could have 2 folks that could easily make that home, and even if they're just roommates, you have separate areas because you have that separate living area separate. It's not like a studio where everything's just all in the open. And it's designed that you really could make that work very, very effectively. So we were sitting there going, like, 2 people could split that number, and you can't. Nancy was saying you can't rent a room in Palm Bay for like $900, and then so this would really be a step towards it. And there's more coming, right? Because I think you explained that you are able to accept Section 8 housing vouchers, which is a problem by itself because there is a wait list and all that. But if somebody does have, in fact, the wait list you can't even get on, is what Nancy was telling us. But if you do have access to a Section 8 housing voucher, that can be used.
Yes. Yeah, that's ready to go right now. And as far as the waiting lists go, there's a couple of different waiting lists. One is the waiting list to get a voucher. The other is, okay, I've got the voucher, but there's no supply. So there's a waiting list to get in. So we're working with the housing authority to open that up so that our units will be available to those.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that on our Helping Seniors social media, like the Facebook, and we're also on X or whatever they call it now, and LinkedIn and place and Instagram, that we get some of these photos out, because I want people to be able to see what we're talking about. So one of the hardest things to do when you're on the radio is to paint the picture of how lovely these units are, how efficient these units are, how cost effective these units are, but also probably the overarching theme is really the community that you're building there, because you have that beautiful missionary house right across the street, and you've got plans for like lots of great activities and things. So you're not just going to be in a place, you're going to be in a community.
Yeah, exactly. Come over for a meal, barbecue, play some chess, some bingo, Bible study. We've got a library there. Basically, just a beautiful place to come and hang out with friends.
Yeah, it's right there in the community. And then you've got phase 2 that's being built now, literally right there on the property. And what was exciting when Nancy and I had the chance to meet with you guys was that there is a long range vision. We want to get this going, get seniors working effectively, having a good home that they can feel comfortable in. It is independent living, but it's very cost effective independent living. And then, as you said, from your background as a developer and understanding the realities of real estate, you said, as we get this model working right for the seniors, we're going to be able to do more around the county. And I really am praying that this is going to be like one of those things that is the watershed moment where somebody, instead of complaining about the problem, is actually taking a step forward and making something happen.
Yeah, when you think about the Wings of Grace model, is we are providing affordable housing now. We're building affordable housing. We have an inventory of land to build, and we're always looking for land.
Yeah.
So if you can think of a boat, and the wake just keeps getting bigger and bigger from the behind. That's the idea, is that we keep this going. Part of the problem that with this, again, the expense of building them is if you have to borrow, which we had to borrow to build this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely hate debt,
right?
And would love to have it free and clear. But you know what I hate more? Is people living on the street.
Absolutely.
Right. So what we'll do is what we have done. Let's get the thing built. Now, if we can get this thing paid off with our ministry partners, donated dollars to get the debt off, then that really opens it up where we can provide affordable housing, right? And get this, it's not through government grant. This is community, the church business community coming together to solve the problem.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing. Let's talk a little bit about now. We've been talking for quite a few minutes about Capernaum Place, right there. Very, very good location. Like you said, very close to O'Galley and Sarno and that whole area. And so again, so much good that's happening right there on these properties. If somebody wants to take a tour, learn more, maybe they're interested, maybe they've got that Section 8 voucher, but haven't been able to apply it because there's just not a space, or maybe, and I guess this is always possible, they may be living someplace with their Section 8 voucher, but it's not ideal for them. Maybe this could be a step up even for them. How would they learn more about, or what's the process to get all this started?
Yeah, best way would be to on the website, just to go out on the contact page and just put in an email through there. We could also call the office number. It's area code 321-327-3127.
Okay, and I'm going to also throw in our Helping Seniors number again, because we always advise people. So like a lot of times in the show, and I'm going to go through a couple of events coming up, so I want to get everybody, that's a signal to grab something, take some of this down. But a lot of times maybe you're driving, you can't jot a number down. So I say, if you can get that Helping Seniors number, kind of like memorized or put it up on a refrigerator or take it down someplace, that number is going to come in handy because you can say, hey, I heard Kerry talking to Dwight and Angelia, and they were talking about this really cool place to live, but I didn't get all the details. Can you fill me in? And Nancy or one of our great volunteers will be happy to do that. So the number that you really want to make sure you have forefront is 321-473-7770. So again, 321-473-7770. That's the Helping Seniors info line, and we'll do our best to get you connected to stuff. So kind of with that, I want to talk about just for a minute, a couple of things that are coming up on the Helping Seniors calendar that I think are going to be very, very good for you to consider as well. So for example, next Friday, not this Friday, this is Friday the 13th. And we're going to be out at Merritt Square Mall. That's the second Friday of the month. Dr. Lee Sheldon, who is one of our favorite people, he's on our board of directors, noted area periodontist, and he has a big, big interest in all things healthy because if you've ever heard us do radio shows with Dr. Sheldon, he's always talking about as your mouth goes, it's all interconnected. He says the health of your mouth has to do with the health of the rest of your body and vice versa. So he wants us to get healthy from the inside out. So he's actually going to be talking about how to eat nutritious. That'll be like the little talk that comes right in front. So 9 a.m. Friday the 13th at Merritt Square Mall. We tell people you drive around to the theater side, come in, you can't miss us. Once you're there, join the growing number of people who do that every second Friday. Now, the other thing that happens every second Friday, I want to make sure I tell you about this too, is we're really excited about this. We have been doing Senior Tech Talk now to get seniors, acclimated to using their smartphones. We have a wonderful lady, her name is Bree Prentice, and she is there every second Friday, 1 p.m. we call it the Senior Resource Center at 1344 South Apollo. We're there on the second floor. And what Bree does is try to help us get comfortable with using our smartphones, because every time you go to the doctor's office, they want you to check in for your appointment using their app. And, they want you to check if your prescription's ready on your app. They want you to pay your insurance premium on your app, all these different things that you have to get comfortable with because it's coming on your smartphone. And then we also do a wellness series because we want to make sure that you are getting every advantage you can on your health and wellness. Because Dwight and Angelia, like we talk about, if you have your health, it's kind of like the fundamental part of your in the Knowledge College. We have 7 pillars that we try to talk about in making an aging plan, but literally the first is your health, because if you have your health, you can fight every other problem. You at least have your fight with you. But if you don't have your health, all you can do is fight for your health, right? And so we want to make sure that stays front and foremost. So that's the 4th Thursday of the month. So get that on your calendars, 10 to 12, absolutely free. It's a fun morning out. We do it right there at the Senior Resource Center at 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. And it's a great, great fun time because not only do you have those sessions, they have snacks out there. We have a bunch of our partners present a lot of great resources. So it's good information to get questions answered and things that you need to know about. There's door prizes. It's just a great morning out. So keep those dates on your calendar. So as we kind of round the corner to the close of the show, Dwight, I really want to make sure people know about Capernaum Place and following up Wings of Grace Ministries. So they can go to wingsofgraceministries.org.
.org, yes.
Okay, is a good place to learn about the ministry. And then if they want to learn specifically about these opportunities, and these are right now opportunities that if you are able to follow up and take a look at this brand new, you'd be like the first resident in these. So they're just absolutely gorgeous, brand new. You need to take a look at this. How do they find out?
Yeah, through contact through that website or CapernaumPlace.com. Specifically has pictures and things like that on the development itself. And then our office phone number, 321-327-2164. And of course, your helpline, which we really like because that shows the collaboration
Yes.
that's really needed in our community to to solve these issues.
Yeah, if you call us at 321-473-7770, we will be happy to get you connected. That's what we exist to do, and that is actually about the time we have for today's Helping Seniors Radio. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here on the radio next Wednesday. See you then.